What is up? What is going on, everybody? I am back with the Mariners post-game recap for the Mariners 1-0 loss to the Phillies today. Before I get started, if you're new here, hit the sub button. I think you'll enjoy my videos. If you are a subscriber, please hit the like button. Even if you're not a Mariners fan, you just want to help the channel out, helps me out a whole lot. Or if you're someone that is a Mariners fan and enjoying the video, please hit the sub button. It just helps get the video out there to more people. And helps my channel grow. I truly appreciate everybody that has done both those things so far. Got the Seahawks gear on. We got the NFL draft. I will have a video up after each Seahawks pick today. They pick 5th and 20th, assuming they don't trade down, which they could definitely do. I will have a recap up after each pick, just give my thoughts on it. But you're here for the Mariners game, so let's talk about that. The Mariners lose the series to the Phillies. So you kind of undo the win from the Cardinals series, essentially. You're back to 11-14 now. And, you know, this team just can't seem to get things on the same page. You know, yesterday the offense scored 5 runs. I criticized them. They were not great because they only scored in 1 inning. But had George Kirby pitched yesterday, they would have won that game. Had Logan Gilbert pitched today, yeah, they still would have lost, but they would have won the series. So it's like they just can't. Again, this was a problem last year, seemed to get offense and pitching down on the same day. George Kirby was fantastic today, complete game. First Mariners complete game, I think, in 2 years. Well, 2021 season, not 2 calendar years. When Marco, I think, he had a complete game shutout against Texas in 2021. So George was fantastic today. Even the run he gave up, truthfully, you could have argued that it shouldn't have scored with 2 outs. Julio maybe could have cut off the runner at second base and kept the Phillies off the board. Now, you're never going to win a game with 0 runs, so the offense still didn't do enough regardless. But George Kirby was fantastic. And it's a shame. It's a real shame that George Kirby pitched maybe the best game of his career. You know, I'd have to go back and look through that. And the team couldn't do it for him. Couldn't get him 2 runs. Couldn't bloop and blast him a run or 2. Listen, I know the Phillies are trying to. This isn't me sitting here going, well, George was amazing, and Strahm was really good for the Phillies, and their bullpen is good. Serenity Dominguez, Gregory Soto, Craig Kimbrell. I know Soto and Dominguez aren't off to great starts, but they're good pitchers. You knew they'd turn it around eventually for the Phillies. But, you know, the Mariners just couldn't do it. Sorry, this game frustrated me. Like, they just couldn't do it for George Kirby. Just like yesterday when I said Jared Kelenic was 0 for 4. And that's okay. Like, Jared gets a day to not be great. Nobody else could pick him up. Like, no one could pick up George Kirby today. Great job, guys. You know, you completely waste an amazing start from George Kirby with that pathetic offensive performance that we saw today. And it starts at the top of the lineup. It's Julio. It's Ty France. Have been terrible for about a week or 2. Now, I am not worried about these guys. I'm not. Like, Julio is going to be just fine. If you look at his batted ball profile, everything's in the red. His savant page, or whatever you call those, everything for him is in the red. He's just swinging at some bad pitches and he's watching strikes. Ty France has been terrible. And Eugenio Suarez hasn't been that great, honestly. The power hasn't been there yet. You know, Teoscar didn't do it. Nobody did anything today. I mean, it was just bad all the way around. And the top of the lineup, you know, just they've got to be the catalyst. Julio and Ty France have to be the ones that get this thing going for the team. If they are going to get it going, they've got to be the guys. Another frustrating thing about wasting this George Kirby start, yesterday you lost Robbie Ray for the season. So you will not have arguably your second, it doesn't matter what. You're a really good starting pitcher is no longer going to be on this team this year. Logan wasn't great yesterday. George comes out today and is fantastic. Steps up in that sort of, I'm going to take the reins here. I'm going to be the number 2. And they can't do anything. And now you go to Toronto, a really good team. You do have Luis Castillo going tomorrow. But you've got Chris Flexen going in this series. And Marco, and God bless Marco, he's been great this year. But now you're going into a tough series on the road with 2 of your lesser pitchers going after Luis Castillo. So just really frustrating. The team is not winning the 1-run games. And I've said it before, these are the games they won for 2 years. They were winning these close games. They were pulling them out more often than they weren't. Now, some of that this year, what are they now? 3-7 or 3-8 in one-run games. They lose back-to-back one-run games. There is some bad luck involved in that. I'm not going to sit here and say the team hasn't been a little unlucky to start the season. They're 11-14. I think they still have a positive run differential. They had some line drives today that were caught. Murphy's in the 8th inning that Castellanos kind of made a diving catch on. It's not impossible that gets by Castellanos a few times. If you do it 10 times, gets past him 5 or 6, rolls to the wall, maybe this game's 2-1. So there is some bad luck involved in there. And Tom Murphy had a nice game today. Good job for the Murph. He had 2 hits in that line drive. Hopefully he sleeps well tonight. They need Tom Murphy to start hitting lefties because A.J. Pollock is not hitting lefties for them. They don't have Dylan Moore. Caballero's holding his own. They need Tom Murphy to start doing that so they can have maybe another DH option available to them. Good game for Murphy, a double and a single. Couldn't score him after getting a leadoff double or a leadoff single, but it is what it is. Murphy had a nice game today, so that was good to see. There is a little bit of bad luck involved with that. I think that's fair, and I don't expect them to be like they're either 3-7 or 3-8 in one-run games. Let's just say 3-7 for the sake of the video. I don't expect them to be 7-3. But 5-5, you usually expect teams about 500 in one-run games. I think that's a fair expectation for this team. That would put them at 13-12. They were not far off from winning these last 2 games. If Topa and Colton Wong have a better 8th inning yesterday, if Murphy's ball gets down today, this team could easily be sitting at 13-12, and we'd all be very excited. Now, they're not. They're not sitting there. So, that is what it is. But there is some luck involved. They are getting a little lucky. But there's also bad baseball involved. And the offense was not good enough today. Like I said, there was no production from the top. There's no production from the middle. Outside of Tom Murphy, there was literally no production. Tom Murphy was the only guy that did anything today. I know Caballero had a walk in there. But, there's some luck. But there's also, it's bad baseball. It's a combination of it. Yesterday, I'm not going to get on Justin Topa for blowing it in the 8th inning. He's been great this year. This is a guy that was picked up off the street in January or traded for kind of a very low-level trade. I mean, Topa's a guy that, has been DFA'd in places, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like you can't expect him to keep doing it all year. The offense needed to add on runs. That's why I was frustrated with them yesterday. The 5 isn't terrible. 5's not a terrible number to score. But they scored all their runs in one inning and did nothing else. Now, the Phillies, to their credit, their bullpen had a great series outside of Game 1. So, and they deserve credit for that. I'm not trying to take away from the success they had in these 2 games. But from the Mariners' standpoint, yesterday you need to add on, then today just nothing. And it's frustrating, like you said, because you're not always going to get great gems from your starting pitching. You're not going to get... George Kirby's a great pitcher, but that was a game... If Kirby's pitching like that, and that's his final stat line, the 8 innings, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, 3 hits, 1 run, you should be winning that game. You should be saying that's a win. If yesterday J.P. Crawford hits a grand slam, you should win that game. You should win a game where J.P. Crawford is hitting you a grand slam. You should come out of those games with a W. And that's 2 in a row that they haven't. So there is some bad baseball involved. It's a little bit of bad luck. I do think that could normalize a little bit. And I do think they've had a tough schedule. The Phillies are defending NL champs. They just played the Cardinals. I know the Cardinals are struggling, but that's a good baseball team. Milwaukee's good. The Rockies are bad. The Mariners swept the Rockies. Cleveland's a decent team. The Cubs are a decent team. So they've had a bit of a tough schedule to start the season. I'm not denying that. But, it's just... I don't know. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating to see George Kirby pitch like that today and let that just go to waste now in a loss. So, and in that ballpark, too, which is not an easy ballpark to pitch in at all. So to get that from Kirby and then lose. And listen, the Mariners won. Phillies fans could say to get a great outing from Strahm and not win it is frustrating. So it goes both ways. It always does. But like I said, I'm looking at this from the Mariners' perspective. And, it's just kind of frustrating to have that, and then just to have the offense just struggle like it did. And again, I see people on Twitter saying that, this is on for Dipoto and Hollander and Scott for not putting together a deep enough lineup. The problem today wasn't the lineup being deep enough. Everybody stunk today. Outside of Tom Murphy, everybody was terrible. Julio was bad. Do you think Julio shouldn't have been involved in this roster? Julio was bad. Ty France was bad. I mean, it was top to bottom. This wasn't about what Dipoto and Hollander did with Colton Wong and the bottom of the order. This was just about everybody stinking. Sometimes, guys, it is on the players. It is. And that's, I know we always want to blame front office stuff and blame coaching. And the reason is it's easier to do that. It's easier to sit there and say a manager is a problem. And I don't think anybody in Seattle is necessarily calling for Scott or anything like that. But it's easier to sit there and say those things than to say, Julio needs to be a little bit better. He does. He does. And that's fine. He will be. Ty France will be better. Gino will be better. But that's on those guys. They've got to hit. Scott cannot make them put the ball in play. They've got to do it. They've got to go out there and win. I get it. There is some things at the bottom of the roster with the lineup that could be better. I wish there was maybe a little more depth and A.J. Pollock wasn't your DH, but he wasn't DHing today. Teoscar Hernandez was. So was there anything in the lineup today that was bad? I mean, if Dylan Moore was healthy, he would have been in there at second base. That's about what we expected the Mariners to roll out there. And I love Dylan Moore, and hopefully he's back, but I don't necessarily know if that would have made any difference today. And the Mariners need to find a way because they've lost a good starting pitcher for the rest of the year. They have one of their best relievers out, and they have a really good utility guy out right now. So somebody's got to step up. George Kirby did that today. He stepped up. Somebody in this lineup has got to get it going. Someone's got to start, taking over. But Jared Kelenick's done it. He had a walk today. And again, Kelenick probably had some of the better at-bats today, honestly. So, again, and Kelenick gets a pass. He's been amazing this year. You can't expect to hit every game. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place in this one. But, it's just... They got to start hitting better. The top of the lineup's got to start producing a little more. That's Julio, that's Ty, that's Gino, that's Cal Raleigh, that's Teoscar, that's all those guys. They just have to get it together. I do think they will. I do. Nothing about what I thought about this team coming into the year has changed. Well, let me take that back. Missing Robbie Ray is a big injury. That's a big deal. So I do think that hurts some areas, but there's nothing you can do about that right now. There's nothing, at least in the immediate aftermath you're going to be able to do. Maybe in a month or two there's a trade they can make, and that is something they end up doing. But right now you can't control that. Those are injuries. They stink, but they happen. So that's not anybody's fault. That's nothing you can control. But in terms of everything else, I do think the team will be fine. I just think that they've got to get, just more consistency from the top of the lineup. And a little bit of luck will start to go their way. I don't think they're going to be this bad in one-run games the rest of the way. Getting Munoz back will help. I do think this is a good lesson, though, for people. And I've defended the Mariners winning one-run games, and I don't think it's just luck that they've won them. And I don't think it's just bad luck that they're losing them to start this year. But a lot of the comments have been the Mariners win the one-run games because their bullpen is better. And while that can be true in a lot of games, that can certainly, a good bullpen is going to help you win more one-run games than it's not. But as you can see from today, it's not always about bullpens when losing one-run games. There's sometimes other factors that come in. The Mariners didn't lose today because of anything to do with the bullpen. The offense couldn't come through. So sometimes it's not always about bullpens in one-run games. It can be some luck involved. There usually is. That's why people tend to say one-run games are, if you're very, very good in them, you probably have some luck on your side. And if you're very bad in them, you're probably getting unlucky. Now, good teams are going to win more one-run games than the bad teams, but you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's not always about the bullpen. So that's my recap. Again, kind of all over the place. I'll have some recaps up for the Mariners Seahawks draft picks tonight. Mariners dropped this one 1-0. They head to Toronto. Tough series coming up. My goal for this road trip was for the Mariners to come back home 500. They've got 6 games left, and they would need to go 5, because 4-2 would not do it. They would need to go 5-1 to come back with what I wanted. I'm not expecting 5-1. Give me a couple series wins. Find a way to go into Toronto and win the series. I'm sure the Mariners are going to get a very rude welcome in Toronto after the playoffs last year. Then the Mariners go to Oakland. A chance to win a series there. So get me 4-2 coming home. That would put the team at 15-16. Homestand, a chance to maybe get some wins and get this thing back over 500. The key for April is you don't want to let it get out of hand, and it's not out of hand. They're struggling. Yeah, I'd much rather see 14-11 and 15-10. I think we all would. But the keys in April is don't lose the season. A lot of baseball left, so stay calm, everybody. As always, go Mariners. I will see you guys later tonight with some NFL draft talk. Hope everybody has a great day. Peace.